Have you ever looked at someone and felt like something was just off? Their smile seems warm. Their words feel sincere. But when they walk away, you're left feeling anxious, uncertain, like your energy's been drained and you don't even know why. You tell yourself you're overthinking it, but deep down, your gut knows better, because evil doesn't always show up shouting. It doesn't wear a villain's mask. Sometimes it shows up with a gift in one hand and poison in the other. Let me tell you something the ancient Stoics understood. Evil can look like a friend, a lover, a boss, even a spiritual guide. And it doesn't take your life in one move. It takes your mind, little by little, until you forget who you were before they arrived. Marcus Aurelius warned, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts. If you surround yourself with darkness, don't be surprised when your own light starts to dim." So how do you know who's secretly pulling you down? That's what this video is for. We're going to expose 10 evident signs that you're standing next to someone truly toxic, someone who's not just broken, but destructive. Someone who uses your kindness, your trust, and your empathy against you. We'll use real-life examples, lessons from Stoic philosophers like Seneca and Epictetus, and most importantly, your own inner wisdom, the kind you've probably ignored for too long. Because if you're honest, you've felt these signs before. The guilt trips, the manipulations, the way they somehow make you feel like the bad guy for protecting your peace. But that ends now. The Stoics believed true freedom isn't found in external success, but in mastery of self. And that begins with knowing who to let close and who to let go. So get ready to reclaim your clarity, to draw lines you no longer apologize for, and to guard your inner peace like your life depends on it, because sometimes it does. And hey, if you find this kind of wisdom helpful, take 1 second right now to subscribe to the channel. Your support helps us spread these timeless ideas and gives more people the tools to protect their energy, stay grounded, and rise stronger. Let's get into it. Sign 1. They twist kindness into control. Kindness is one of the purest expressions of humanity, but in the hands of someone manipulative, it becomes a tool to trap you. These people don't see your kindness as a strength. They see it as an entry point. At first they seem grateful. Maybe they thank you, flatter you, even praise you publicly. But underneath the smile is a different intention. They are taking notes. They note how much you care, how far you'll go to help, how quickly you forgive. Then, slowly, they begin to use those very qualities against you. They start asking for more, pushing boundaries, calling in favors. They remind you of all the good you've done for them, not to appreciate it, but to turn it into a contract. You didn't help them out of obligation, but now they make it seem like you owe them. It's emotional blackmail, masked as gratitude. Seneca warned us about this. He who receives a benefit with gratitude repays the first installment on his debt. In other words, genuine gratitude leads to mutual respect, not manipulation. But evil people don't repay. They exploit. They operate like debt collectors, but they're collecting emotional leverage, not money. One day you speak up about how they're treating you, and they fire back. "After all I've done for you? Wow, I didn't expect you to be so ungrateful." And suddenly, you're the villain in their story. That guilt settles in your chest. You doubt yourself. You stay silent. That's exactly what they want. But here's the truth. Real kindness has no strings. True relationships aren't built on guilt. They're built on reciprocity and freedom. A kind person lifts you. A toxic person uses your goodness to trap you. Stoicism teaches us that your peace of mind is sacred, and any relationship that weaponizes your empathy is a threat to that peace. So if someone is twisting your kindness into control, step back. Don't explain. Don't argue. Just detach. Because if they can only love you when they're above you, it was never love to begin with. Sign 2. Their charm is a weapon. Some people light up a room the moment they walk in. Their words flow like honey. They make you laugh, feel seen, maybe even admired. It's easy to believe you've finally found someone who gets you. But pause. Ask yourself this. Why do I feel high when I'm with them and low when I'm alone? Because that's not charisma, that's control. Epictetus warned, appearances are deceptive. The Stoics didn't fear charming people, but they feared being deceived by charm that had no substance behind it. Real charm is effortless, it's warm, consistent, and respectful. But toxic charm is rehearsed. It feels like a performance. Here's how you spot it. They mirror your values almost too perfectly. They give intense attention quickly, before trust has been earned. They love bomb, flatter, and idealize you, until you start setting boundaries. Then the charm vanishes. I once knew someone who could make a stranger feel like a soulmate in 10 minutes. She was magnetic, expressive, and deeply curious, or so it seemed. But over time, patterns emerged. Her compliments disappeared once she got what she wanted. She mocked people behind their backs. She used affection to soften you before asking for something big. Charm, in her world, was currency, and once you had no more value, she cashed out. The Stoics would call this false virtue. They taught that real character is shown when no one is watching, when there's nothing to gain. So how do you defend yourself? You slow down. You observe. Don't be hypnotized by how they make you feel in the moment. Watch how they treat others when there's nothing to gain. Listen to how they speak about those who once helped them. Charm without consistency is a mask, and when the mask slips, the damage begins. In a healthy relationship, you should feel seen and steady. But with someone dangerous, you'll feel addicted, craving their approval like a drug. Don't confuse excitement for connection. The Stoics remind us, what is good doesn't need to dazzle. It just needs to be true. So the next time someone's charm feels too good to be true, check if there's character underneath, because anyone can say the right words, but only the real ones live them. Sign 3, they lie like it's breathing. There are people who lie out of fear or to protect themselves. Then, there are people who lie as easily as they breathe. With them, truth is optional, reality is flexible, and the line between fact and fiction is wherever they decide to draw it that day. But here's the most dangerous part. They lie not to avoid trouble, but to gain control. You start to notice the little inconsistencies first. Stories that change slightly each time they tell them, facts that don't line up, explanations that feel just a little too convenient. You want to believe them, you try to believe them, but something inside starts to resist, because deep down, you know, they're not just bending the truth, they're bending you. I once knew someone who lied even when there was no reason to. She would tell you she went to a place she never visited, talk about conversations that never happened. She crafted stories not for clarity, but for control, to keep people off balance. It wasn't about hiding, it was about dominance, and that's how you spot them. Their lies are not just excuses, they are weapons. Every distortion is designed to make you question your memory, your judgment, even your sanity. There's a term for this, gaslighting. They'll say, I never said that. They'll tell you, you're imagining things. They'll laugh it off as a joke when you catch them in a contradiction, and slowly they rewrite your reality. Marcus Aurelius said, if it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it. To the Stoics, truth was sacred, not just for moral reasons, but because truth is clarity, and clarity is the foundation of inner peace. When someone lies to you consistently, they're not just betraying your trust. They are dismantling your compass. They want to be the only voice you trust, the only version of the story that matters. So how do you protect yourself? Don't argue. Don't try to prove every inconsistency. That only pulls you deeper into their web. Instead, step back and observe. Do their words match their actions? Do their stories hold up under time and scrutiny? Do you feel more confused than clear after talking to them? If the answer is yes, it's time to pull away. You don't owe loyalty to someone who weaponizes dishonesty. In a world that desperately needs more truth, your refusal to tolerate lies is a radical act of self-respect. Sign 4, your pain entertains them. There's a difference between someone being emotionally distant and someone who takes pleasure in your pain. These are the people who smirk when you stumble, who offer backhanded comfort like, "Well, you kind of brought it on yourself." Or worse, who go silent when you need support the most. It's not indifference, it's enjoyment. They might not laugh in your face, but their energy shifts when you're hurting. You notice it. A flicker of satisfaction, a subtle, twisted delight, and here's how it often shows up. They downplay your pain. You're overreacting. They blame you for your struggles. You made your bed. They reframe your suffering as entertainment. This is better than TV. It's cold, it's calculated, and it's cruel. Seneca wrote, "No man is more unhappy than he who never faces adversity. For he is not permitted to prove himself. But for these people, your adversity isn't a lesson, it's a game." I once had a coworker who never celebrated anyone's wins. But the moment someone got bad news, he lit up. He'd gossip, joke, and act as though your struggles validated his own worth. It was never about helping. It was always about leveling the field by pulling others down. This behavior is rooted in deep insecurity. These individuals lack self-worth, so they feed on weakness in others to feel superior. They'll never say it, but inside, they feel powerful when others are powerless. That is not just unhealthy, it is evil. Because the essence of goodness is compassion. When someone suffers, a good person leans in. They offer space, warmth, presence. The one who leans back, or worse, leans in to gloat, that's your red flag. So how do you respond? Don't try to convince them of your pain. Don't wait for their empathy. Accept what they reveal through their actions, and withdraw. Because someone who smiles at your suffering will never hold space for your healing. And in the words of Marcus Aurelius, the best revenge is to be unlike him who performed the injury. Let your pain make you softer, wiser, and more protective of who you allow into your heart. That's how you heal. That's how you win. Sign 5. They isolate you quietly. They don't tell you to cut people off. They don't demand you burn bridges. No, evil people are more patient than that, more subtle. They start with a comment. Your friend doesn't really have your back. Then a seed. Your sister never really understood you anyway. At first, it sounds like concern, like they're protecting you, like they just want what's best. But then you notice you're pulling away, skipping calls, canceling plans, doubting people you used to love and trust. And every time something feels off, they are the one you go to. Until one day, they're the only one left. That's not love. That's strategy. Marcus Aurelius said, "We are made for cooperation, like feet, like hands, like rows of the upper and lower teeth." Stoics understood that humans thrive in connection. We are meant to support, challenge, and lift one another. But evil individuals isolate, not because they want you to be safe, but because they want you to be easier to control. Because here's the truth. The fewer voices you hear, the easier it is for theirs to become the only one that matters. They want to be your emotional authority, your source of truth, the one who defines your value and interprets your world. This kind of isolation is one of the most dangerous forms of manipulation, because it doesn't look like control, it looks like closeness. But real closeness includes the people you love. It builds bridges, not walls. If someone is creating distance between you and your support system, pay attention. Ask yourself, are you withdrawing from others since they entered your life? Do you find yourself defending them more than feeling seen by them? Have you begun to believe that only they get you? Those are red flags, not signs of deep connection. Real love expands your world. It empowers you to stand strong, even without it. It doesn't demand your isolation. It celebrates your independence. So if you find yourself alone in a room where only one voice is heard, and it isn't yours anymore, it's time to step outside. Reclaim your circle. Reconnect with your truth. Because anyone who truly loves you won't need to erase others to matter. If you've found value in these insights so far, and if this video is helping you see things more clearly, please consider subscribing to the channel. It only takes a second, but it makes a huge difference. Your support helps us create more Stoic wisdom content like this and bring clarity and calm to more people who need it. Thank you for being here. Now, let's keep going. Sign 6. They guilt trip instead of apologize. Nobody's perfect. We all make mistakes. But what separates the good from the dangerous is how they respond when confronted. A person of integrity owns it, apologizes, learns. But the manipulative? They flip the script. You tell them how they hurt you, and suddenly you're the one apologizing. You try to set a boundary, and they act like you're abandoning them. It always comes back to one thing. They make you feel guilty for expecting decency. This isn't conflict. It's control. It's emotional warfare disguised as hurt feelings. They weaponize your empathy. They twist your compassion into compliance. It starts with phrases like, "I guess I'm just a terrible person, huh? You're so sensitive. I can't say anything without being attacked. I do everything for you, and this is what I get." You try to defend yourself, clarify, speak kindly, but they don't want resolution. They want submission. And the moment you start adjusting your truth to protect their ego, they've won. Stoicism teaches us that taking responsibility is a sign of strength, not weakness. Epictetus said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." The Stoic response to being wrong is reflection and correction. The manipulator's response is reversal and guilt. Here's what they fear: accountability. Because if they admit fault, the mask slips. The illusion of superiority cracks, so they deflect, they minimize, they cry, accuse, shift, and over time, they train you to avoid confrontation altogether. Not because they're fragile, but because you fear the emotional chaos that follows. But don't let that fear silence you. You are not unreasonable for asking for respect. You are not cruel for speaking your truth. You are not selfish for needing clarity. If someone cannot say, "I was wrong, I'm sorry, I'll do better," they are showing you that their pride matters more than your peace. And if they turn every hard conversation into a guilt trip, they are not emotionally mature. They are emotionally manipulative. Protect your mind, guard your heart, and never apologize for asking for what is healthy and right. A Stoic owns their faults. An evil person makes you wear them. Sign 7. They hide jealousy behind advice. Jealousy is rarely obvious. The most dangerous kind doesn't come with shouting or sabotage. It comes dressed in subtle comments, masked as concern. You tell them about a new opportunity, and they say, "That's great, just be careful not to get cocky." "Wow, you got the promotion? Must be nice to get lucky like that." At first, it sounds like wisdom, but there's something off in the tone. The smile doesn't reach their eyes. The praise feels forced. The warning feels unnecessary. What you're hearing isn't mentorship. It's minimization. They can't celebrate your growth because it reminds them of their stagnation. Seneca said, "Envy is the ulcer of the soul." And people who live with that inner wound will try to infect others with their doubt. These people might call themselves friends, but instead of pushing you forward, they pull you subtly backward, just enough to keep you questioning yourself. They might undermine your progress with backhanded compliments. Always find a flaw in your success story. Offer advice that breeds fear instead of confidence. The worst part? It works. Their words echo in your mind. You start second-guessing. You shrink your dreams to make them comfortable. But shrinking doesn't serve you. And someone who truly supports you? They don't just clap for your wins. They cheer louder than you do. They ask, "What's next?" They help you build, not break. Jealousy in disguise is a psychological toxin. It corrodes the roots of your confidence before you even notice. To protect yourself, listen closely, not just to words, but tone. Ask, do I feel more empowered or more hesitant after talking to them? Notice if they're absent during your highs but vocal during your lows. The Stoics teach us to remain unshaken by praise or criticism, but also to be vigilant of those who pretend to do one while meaning the other. So the next time someone hands you advice wrapped in doubt, step back. Don't argue, just remember, people who are truly secure don't have to dim others to shine. You don't need to apologize for glowing. You don't need to play small to be accepted. Keep rising. The right ones will rise with you. Sign 8. They drain you emotionally. You know the feeling. You enter the conversation full of energy, but by the end, you're depleted. Not physically, not even intellectually, but emotionally. Because with this person, every interaction feels like a transaction where only they profit. They vent, they complain, they demand your attention, your sympathy, your time. But when the conversation flips to you, they're suddenly too tired, too distracted, too unavailable. It's not a friendship, it's emotional extraction. Good people share, they listen, they lift, there's give and take. But with the emotionally draining, it's always take and take. These individuals thrive on being the center of the emotional stage. Every drama is theirs, every crisis revolves around them. And if they're not the main character, they'll find a way to become it. What makes it worse is how they package their neediness as vulnerability. And because you care, you stay, you listen, you hold space. But here's the Stoic truth. You are not obligated to bleed so someone else can feel alive. Marcus Aurelius said, "The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts." And toxic people infect your thoughts with exhaustion. You start dreading their messages. You feel anxious before calls. You walk on eggshells trying not to trigger another emotional download. Over time, your own needs start to shrink. Your voice gets quieter. Your world gets smaller. That is not care. That is corrosion. Here's how you identify them. You feel guilty setting boundaries. You never feel emotionally full around them. You walk away more burdened than before. Emotional drainers don't always mean harm, but their lack of self-awareness becomes a slow poison to those who are empathetic. Protecting yourself doesn't make you selfish, it makes you wise. The Stoics would tell you, guard your energy like a sacred resource, because from your energy flows your clarity, your strength, your purpose. So don't be afraid to take space. Don't be afraid to say no. Don't be afraid to let go. You were not made to be someone else's emotional sponge. You were made to rise with peace, presence, and power, and any relationship that empties you repeatedly without returning a drop is not one worth keeping. Sign 9. They play victim to escape accountability. It doesn't matter what happens, they're always the victim. You call them out on something hurtful, and suddenly, they're the one crying. You express a boundary, and now you're abandoning them. You bring up facts, and they accuse you of being cold, ungrateful, or attacking their character. They don't just deflect blame, they invert the story. This is not forgetfulness. This is intentional narrative control. It starts subtly. That's not what I said. You must be misremembering. I can't believe you think I'd do something like that. I'm just trying my best and you're never satisfied. They weaponize your compassion. They twist your confrontation into cruelty. They manipulate the conversation until you question your own reality. And somehow at the end of it all, you end up apologizing for how you felt, for how you reacted, even for bringing it up. This isn't just emotional confusion. It's psychological warfare. Seneca taught that no man can be accused of being a villain who knows he is one. But here's the catch. The evil person never admits it, because that would break the spell. Accountability is their kryptonite. So instead, they cloak themselves in victimhood. That way they don't have to grow, they just have to perform. Watch their pattern. Every ex is toxic. Every coworker is against them. Every time they hurt someone, they had a reason. And every time they cross a line, they act like they were pushed. You cannot reason with this kind of person, because reason requires honesty. And honesty threatens the role they've cast themselves in. The misunderstood, mistreated martyr. What you're dealing with is emotional reversal, where your concerns become attacks and their wrongdoings become your burden. So what do? You stop debating, you stop explaining, you stop playing defense in a game they rigged from the start. The Stoics teach us to act from virtue, not reaction, to live with integrity, regardless of others' manipulations. So instead of proving your point, protect your peace. Because clarity isn't found in who cries loudest or blames fastest. It's found in consistency, behavior, and truth. And anyone who refuses to be accountable is already telling you who they are. Believe them. Sign 10. They never change. Everyone makes mistakes. That's human. But the difference between someone who stumbles and someone who stays dangerous lies in their willingness to change. A good person reflects, apologizes, evolves. An evil person, they justify, they blame, then they do it all again. They don't change because deep down they don't think they need to. You confront them and they say, "That's just how I am." You knew what you were getting into. If you can't handle me at my worst, maybe you don't deserve me at all. These aren't flaws. These are excuses for abuse. Marcus Aurelius said, "Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be one." And that's the Stoic truth. Character is a choice. We are not defined by our past. We are defined by how we respond to it. So, when someone hurts others repeatedly and still refuses to evolve, they're making a conscious decision to stay the same, to keep harming, to prioritize ego over empathy. The most dangerous part? They might pretend to change. A temporary apology, a short honeymoon phase, a promise they never planned to keep. But over time, the mask slips, the pattern returns, and the more chances you give, the more they learn how to fake growth without doing the work. True change takes humility. It takes discomfort. It takes ownership. The Stoics believed that wisdom comes from self-examination, from facing the mirror honestly and doing what is hard but right. But evil people smash the mirror, or worse, they hold it up to you. If someone has shown you the same harmful behavior over and over, believe their actions. Don't wait for them to wake up. Don't bet your peace on their potential. Your time, your energy, your life are too valuable to be wasted on someone who chooses stagnation. Walk away, not out of hatred, but out of respect for the person you're still becoming. Because you can change, you will grow, and you deserve to walk with people who do too. These signs aren't just red flags, they're smoke from a fire that's already burning. You may have been doubting yourself, questioning your gut, telling yourself you're overreacting. But if these signs feel familiar, even in subtle ways, it means your spirit has already sensed what your mind is still trying to deny. And it's okay. You're not weak for not seeing it sooner. You're human. But now you know. The Stoics didn't teach us to hate, to attack, or to seek revenge. They taught us to be free. And true freedom, as Epictetus put it, is mastery over yourself, not letting others rent space in your mind, not letting their shadows cloud your inner light. So if someone around you manipulates, drains, belittles, or entraps you, the bravest thing you can do is step back, not out of anger, but out of clarity, because walking away from toxicity is not cruelty, it's self-respect. Every time you choose peace over chaos, every time you say no to guilt and yes to growth, you become what the Stoics called unshakable. So stand tall, guard your mind, trust the quiet voice inside that says, something isn't right. You don't need to explain. You don't need to beg to be understood. You just need to walk in truth, because the light in you is real, and it terrifies the darkness in them. If this video opened your eyes, hit that like button, subscribe, and comment "I see the signs" below to join a growing movement of strength, clarity, and emotional freedom. Stay sharp, stay stoic, and I'll see you in the next one.